At his modest headquarters just outside Dayton, Ohio, Ross McNutt is frustrated that no police department has bought into his remarkable technology.
Because I feel that we can reduce crime in a major city by 20 to 30% in a year.
It's a system of 12 cameras that circle over a city in a light plane.
You ask if I get frustrated that we're not in some of these cities? Absolutely.
The cameras are computer coordinated. They shoot 1 frame per second, creating one continuous image that's captured on the ground by an antenna. After years of sporadic testing in the U.S. and Mexico, those eyes in the sky have recorded many terrible things.
So far, to date, we've seen 39 murders as they've occurred.
The image would cover roughly 1/3 of a city like Salt Lake. Company analysts can zoom in and watch a reported crime after it happened anywhere in a 32-square-mile area.
This is an outline of Chicago. In this case, we see a person get out of this car and shoot dead 2 people in this car and get back in this car and drive off, and we're able to see where that person goes.
In PowerPoint presentations and computer demonstrations, McNutt likes to show his greatest hits.
These 3 cars here just held their last pre-murder meeting.
His most dramatic hit.
This group is going to kill a person right here. You've got 3 vehicles and a shooter on foot right there.
Ordered by a drug cartel in Juarez, Mexico. Seconds after a murder in an alley was reported to 911, McNutt's analysts hit rewind and zoomed in.
And we were able to go back in time and watch exactly what happened.
Individual people are just dots.
So right here is your shooter, right there is your victim. Now this time we're going to follow the shooter. He's going to go up here. He's going to get into that second car, and now the second car is going to drive off.
Remember, the recorded wide shot shows everything happening in a 32-square-mile area, so they can zoom in wherever and follow what happened. People at the crime scene, the speeding getaway cars.
They're driving here about 75 miles an hour.
They can look forward in time to see where the suspects went minutes after the murder.
The car stops, the person gets out of the passenger side, the same side the shooter got into, and they walk right into this second house there. Within about 3 to 4 minutes after the shooting, we've identified 2 locations. Here's
Incredibly,
the house in the corner.
all this visual info can be fed to the cops just seconds and minutes after the murder.
We actually can take a screenshot of this and send it to an officer's cell phone with the address so that when they go knock on the door, they get the right door. And in this case, it gave them more than enough information to actually solve the crime.
McNutt settled here in Ohio after a career in the Air Force. He originally developed the technology more than a decade ago to track down roadside bombers in Iraq.
It was very effective.
McNutt has surveillance contracts with the military, but no American city has bought into his technology, partly because it's expensive, up to $2 million a year for a system that's only useful in certain types of crime situations. Salt Lake City has had surveillance cameras in the Pioneer Park area for years. This year, portable camera towers were brought into play. They can be parked in high-crime neighborhoods.
We often see a reduction in those areas. They're a good crime deterrent.
But with Salt Lake City's relatively low murder rate, McNutt's wide area surveillance might be a stretch.
I think any city could probably use it. The question is how often it would be beneficial to them and whether it's worth the financial impact that would cost to the city.
McNutt argues that crime creates huge costs for victims, government, and business.
What we believe is that even a 10% reduction in crime in Salt Lake would be about $32 million a year back to the community in value.
But there's a much bigger obstacle for McNutt. Even in Dayton, hometown of the Wright brothers, many people are nervous about high-flying eyes in the sky, watching what everyone is doing.
And there was a huge outcry in Baltimore when it was revealed that this technology had been deployed.
Privacy advocate Jay Stanley spoke to us by Skype.
And that gives really the government the power to press the rewind button on any of our lives, where you've been looking at your associations, who you've been with, looking at your politically and sexually and religiously and medically oriented activities.
Long-term surveillance.
Constitutional law expert Randy Dreyer believes the Utah legislature would likely ban such surveillance if any police department puts it into play, and the U.S. Supreme Court, he thinks, would likely declare it unconstitutional.
A general unease when people are always, watching you, particularly when that someone is government who has the power to take away your liberties.
McNutt says his cameras are set to cover such a wide area that, for now at least, the image quality is too low to even identify anyone.
People are a single pixel, so you can't tell who they are, what color they are, whether they're gay or straight, nor do we ever care.
He hopes the victims of crime, like this woman his company spoke to in Baltimore, will persuade city officials.
We have a lot of shootings and a lot of murders, and that shouldn't be happening.
There is a fundamental trade-off between security and privacy.
That trade-off becomes all the tougher to sort out as surveillance technology gets better and better. John Hollenhorst, KSL 5 News, Dayton, Ohio.